Today on CityCast DC, we are a few days out from the IndyCar race that will be taking over the National Mall. And while DC types are mostly talking about the massive road closings, we figured we ought to check out somebody who actually knows car racing. Jordan Bianchi covers motorsports for The Athletic. He caught us up on the race itself, plus what DC can learn from the many other cities that have safely hosted races in their own downtowns. Today is Wednesday, August 19th. I'm Michael Schaefer. Here's what DC is talking about. Jordan, good to see you.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on. It's a fun, unique topic to talk about.
So, as you know, in a few days, DC is hosting its first IndyCar race. It's going to go around the National Mall, 1.7-mile loop, 147 laps at speeds of more than 200 miles an hour. How big an undertaking is this?
It isn't easy. I mean, building a street circuit in any city is complicated, but then add in the size of a city like Washington, D.C., and all the complications that arise because of the national monuments and everything like that, and the security and that, it's complicated. This is a big undertaking, and they don't have a lot of time to do this. I mean, you can't shut down major roadways for weeks at a time, so you are really working in a condensed period to do this. So it's kind of like a Lego set, but it's a really complicated Lego set that you have to do under a very tense and tight deadline.
This kind of race, people are very excited about it here, but in fact, like these races where they turn the downtown of some city into like a giant track, it's not like a brand new thing.
Oh, no, not at all. This is incredibly common. Like Formula One, for example, races in Las Vegas, and they shut down the Las Vegas Strip of all places. NASCAR, for 3 years, staged a race in downtown Chicago, the third largest media market and city in the United States, which was a huge undertaking for them. And IndyCar does this especially with great frequency. For example, they just raced last weekend up in the Toronto area on a street circuit that they built. And so they have a lot of experience, a lot of know-how in doing this. This is not unfamiliar territory for the league or for the drivers or anything like that. What is unique about this is the setting itself.
So the setting is like the National Mall, the Capitol, the Washington Monument, the archives with all those ancient documents, the Smithsonian museums with priceless art. I mean, we'll get to like the risks there, but that's a fairly different environment than like the Las Vegas Strip or the Loop.
Yeah, and that's kind of the novelty of this is the backdrop. No one's ever had, no IndyCar, NASCAR hasn't raced in DC like this with the backdrop of the U.S. Capitol. That's what makes this unique is the national monuments. You're doing this on the National Mall. That's part of it, and that's what makes these so unique. When NASCAR raced in downtown Chicago, for example, it was having the backdrop of downtown Chicago being alongside Lake Michigan as kind of this scenic overview. Because once you get down to the actual circuit itself, like, it's you right-hand turns, left-hand turns, you got some straightaways, it kind of looks familiar. But when Las Vegas is, has a race and you're racing on the strip, it's like, oh, that is Las Vegas. So it's the uniqueness that's what makes it different in DC is because of the Smithsonian and the mall and those kind of things.
So there's a lot of worry here about like the vibrations, their effects on things like the art in the galleries. Have there been problems in other cities caused by that sort of thing?
No, there's not, and it's how do I put this delicately? It's an understandable concern for people who maybe don't understand the construction of this and how a race unfolds. But in Chicago, for example, when NASCAR raced there was concerns about the aquarium they have there, the big aquarium, right? And like, how is it going to affect everything? It's fine. Everything is going to be okay. Nothing, no artwork is going to fall off shelves. No buildings are going to be damaged. Another thing is, could cars fly off the circuit and that kind of thing. Let me put it this way. Very unlikely, very unlikely a car is going to fly off the circuit. And there's safety things that are in place. So those kind of things have really been mitigated.
Well, in the case of DC this year, because this has been sort of sponsored by the Trump administration and really embraced this political group, the Freedom 250, who have been pretty incompetent in a lot of other matters of engineering, there's worry that these clowns are going to screw it up. But in the case of like the build out for this race, the turning the streets into a track, is it like these clowns who are doing it, or is it IndyCar doing the same with the same crew that have been doing it for them in Chicago and Las Vegas?
Yeah, one of the things that really works well with this is when the league itself or a specific promoter that has great experience doing this builds the circuit. You don't rely really on outside agencies to do this, especially on a first-time basis at a venue like this. So this is IndyCar, the Penske Corporation, which owns IndyCar. Design this, they're laying it out, they're putting it all together. They're not now, will government agencies and the like have input on certain things? Absolutely. Will they be involved in some things? Sure. But the actual construction of this will come down to IndyCar itself. And go back to an example last weekend up in Toronto, there were some issues with the circuit build and everything. That was the people who built the circuit. And that was a different company that IndyCar contracted to put that on. But that company will not be involved in this event per se. And so there's a little bit of that. So no, this isn't the administration or anybody in DC just saying, hey, we want to have a race, we're going to put this on, and them figuring out how to do that. No, this is basically them striking a deal with IndyCar and then IndyCar coming in and saying, okay, here's how we're going to do it. We have the expertise. You need to let us basically cook.
All right, so talk to me, what are some of the challenges they've faced in the planning? Like, I mean, and I assume a lot of this is the same in Toronto or wherever. Like, what does it take to turn ordinary city streets with like manhole covers and curbs and traffic lights and bike lanes into an IndyCar track?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, one, you have to build a functional circuit. Like you have to actually have you have to take a look at your map and you have to figure out, okay, how are we going to build a circuit that one is wide enough for a car, multiple cars, because you need to have them pass. This is a racetrack, right? So we need to have a wide enough area. And then how is that going to work? How is this going to wind? Now, most city circuits are usually about 90. They feature a lot of 90-degree turns because if you look at a map of a downtown area, that's how the streets are built. So you got to figure out passing zones and straightaways and how, the curvature of the track, if you will. And then obviously DC specific, you've got a mandate basically of, hey, we want as the backdrop, we want all of these landmarks to be part of this. So, okay, so how are we going to build a circuit around this? It's a challenge. It really is. It's a lot of, okay, will this work? Will this work? And, there's a lot of simulations and stuff that are done to design tracks. And sometimes you have an idea and we're going to do this. It doesn't work. And so this is all being done as it has been done over the last weeks and months, really, of how this is going to work. But then there's the implementation of it. And sometimes you get to it and it's like, oh, this isn't going to work. We're going to have to kind of adjust on the fly here. But for the most part, this is largely going to be, you have a blueprint, if you will, of what you're going to do. You speak of the manhole covers and everything, and that's an interesting topic.
Why do they have to weld those anyway?
Yeah, no, it's a really simple thing. And I'll give you an example of why. The cars are going so fast and they create such like a force. It basically would suck the manhole cover off, right? So you have to weld those in place so that they don't come loose or anything like that. A few years ago in Las Vegas, the inaugural Formula One race in Las Vegas had this very issue. Within minutes of cars hitting the track for the first time, one of those manhole covers got loose and damaged a race car, which is, I think it was hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s worth of damage. And it can be a safety risk too, don't mind you. I mean, for the drivers, for the competitors, for fans necessarily. So you just have to ensure that those manhole covers are down and don't come off. Now, that said, because of this area that's being used and a lot of stuff that's been used for like the president and everything, those manhole covers, to my understanding, are already welded down anyway. So you don't have to worry about necessarily, but it is something that you're concerned about. You just don't want any debris flying is the best way to sum it up.
Are there other sort of best practices that they've imported from, stuff they've learned in doing these in other cities?
Oh, I mean, there's all sorts of practices. I mean, wall curvatures, for example, a tire pack, where tire packs need to go to protect, driver. You don't want drivers basically hitting nose first into a concrete wall.
Tire packs I guess, I take it tire packs are packs of tires that you crash into.
It's exactly what it says. It's literally a pack of tires to cushion a blow. So you put a pack of tires in front of a concrete wall where a driver could strike, and that way it helps them absorb the energy, so that isn't then go back onto the driver, and therefore helps prevent injuries and like. So where do you lay those tires out? There's different ways to lay the tires out. An issue that was in Toronto last week at that race was some of the tires were kind of jutting out a little bit, and so the drivers were striking them. Well, the tire packs and the walls in DC are supposed to be rounded, and so there's going to be better fit. So it is little things like that. And there's signage, for example. Like, I'll give you a little thing people may not even think about, but there are brake markers for each turn, basically counting down when the turn is coming up. The numbers can vary from series to series, but basically like a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 kind of thing. But you got to make sure those are on, those are prominently placed. Can they be seen by the driver going at a high rate of speed? And, is it big enough? That kind of thing. So those are all things that have to be worked through. Now, part of this as well is the drivers will have like a walkthrough of the track. It's called a track walk. And before any car hits the track, the drivers and their teams and series officials will walk the track and physically inspect every facet of it, saying, okay, is this okay? Is there enough signage here? Is it too bumpy here? Those kind of things. So there are all sorts of little things that will go into this before an actual car hits the track in DC.
Let's talk about the DC SCU, your friendly neighborhood sustainable energy utility. 15 years and they're still here. Talk about eyes on the prize. Their mission possible. Serving residents with efficiency and clean energy programs, improving affordability and quality of life across all 8 wards. They've delivered $2.2 billion in lifetime savings for district residents and businesses alike. They've prevented 10.1 million metric tons of emissions right here. These are your neighbors working for you. And it makes sense that they're in Southeast by the ballpark because they are knocking it out of the park daily. There is no ivory tower. They're on the sidewalks, out on the streets, and they're at your door, making it happen more capable, more committed than ever. Doing right by you and you and you. I see you standing up. That's right, clap your hands because DC SCU is 15 and still redefining power in the district. Find out more at dcscu.com.
You're a professional motorsports reporter, and you cover these guys. Have Penske, who owns the IndyCar series, have they been trying to come into DC for a while?
I mean, they're always exploring new markets. I mean, they tried to put together a race in Boston a few years ago. That didn't come to fruition. They race all over, and they're always looking to race in a major market. For example, they're trying to race in Denver in a couple of years. So DC has kind of been one of those things. Hey, if you can get a race in DC, that's great. They just never were able to get to the finish line. Yeah. Part of this, though, was the Trump administration saying, as part of the America 250, we want to have big events here. And when you have a race like this in a major metropolitan area, there is a lot of hurdles to go through at the local, city, and state level to negotiate. There's a ton, and every series has encountered that. And so one of the ways this was kind of helped mitigate it a little bit, shortcutted, was the Trump administration stepped in and was like, we're just going to do an executive order and we're going to make this happen. Yeah. And so, right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever, that was the path they went. So IndyCar had a little bit more straighter of a road to come in and do this without necessarily having to hop through a bunch of, local and city ordinances and that kind of thing.
But so what are real race fans think of these downtown races?
I mean, listen, that's a complicated question because it depends. I mean, are they, the thing with street racing in general, whether it's IndyCar, NASCAR, Formula One, or the like, is they're not always the most exciting because of the restrictions we just talked about. That the track isn't necessarily very wide. It's hard to pass. It's narrow. It's, there's not enough, you can't get multiple cars side by side. They always aren't the most exciting races. Some of them are, don't get me wrong, but for the majority of the time, they're not the most exciting. They tend to be more strategy-laden than traditional racing, what you want to see. So there's fans who are just kind of shrug their shoulders at street racing, be like, it's part of it, and it is what it is. The other side of this, though, is, and more from an entertainment and business perspective, of these races tend to be very popular with fans and tend to be very popular with sponsors. IndyCar stages a lot of these races throughout the country. Long Beach, for example, in Southern California, is one of their most popular races of the year, and it is incredibly popular with sponsors and media and the like. Even though the race itself isn't that exciting necessarily every single year, it's the event surrounding it is a big deal, and that's what people gravitate towards.
I mean, there's supposed to be an enormous number of people coming in DC.
Yeah, I mean the reports they're expecting anywhere from 120,000 to 130,000, and a lot of those too are free tickets, that kind of thing. We'll see how many people turn out, and all expectations are it will be well attended. That's a big deal, and that's the thing here is these races, are about the party, they're the atmosphere, that kind of thing. They're not necessarily just about competition based.
Doing it on an improvised loop in a city grid, is that difficult for the racer?
It's challenging. I mean, the sight lines can be challenging. Visuals can be hard. I mean, it's tough because like on a natural road course where they sometimes race, they're more forgiving. There's a little bit more wider surface. If you spin off the track, you're not necessarily hitting something. Whereas on a street circuit like this, if you make a mistake, you're going to hit a concrete wall very likely because there's concrete barriers everywhere. So yeah, I mean, it is very challenging for the driver. And a unique thing for this race specifically is it's 250 miles. Road races, street races like this, they're almost never that length. They're usually around 200 at the most. This is going to be a challenge physically for the drivers. 250 miles on a challenging circuit like this, they are certainly going to be tested physically.
So meaning that you could do 500 miles at Indianapolis and it's not as physically challenging as doing 250 in a street you've never explored that's not meant for this?
Yeah, I mean, Indianapolis brings its own challenges and its very, very uniqueness, and it can be daunting. 500 miles on a road course, though, with constant shifting, with having to turn left and right constantly, and navigating that is very challenging. So they're going to be tested physically, just like they would be at Indianapolis as well.
So listen, for the uninitiated, which I suspect is most of our CityCast listenership, give me the big storylines in the race? Like who's in it, who's favored, what's at stake for the different big names in the race?
Well, this has championship implications. If you look at the IndyCar series as a whole, this is a big race for them. I mean, Alex Palou is chasing a championship, and he has an opportunity to clinch it this weekend, though it probably will be unlikely. There's prize money to win. And then, honestly, there's going to be a prestige factor. This is going to get a lot of attention. A lot of eyeballs will be on this sport. So winning here is going to be significant. It's going to be one of the crown jewels that you will have on a driver's career. It's like, hey, I won that race in DC when a lot of people were watching. So that is certainly going to matter in that regard.
Who are the big stars in this race?
I mean, listen, the name to know is Alex Palou. He's the championship leader. He's the guy who wins the championship seemingly every year. He's the guy that everybody's chasing. And anytime you go to a circuit like this, he's the guy to watch. Joseph Newgarden is another name to watch. He's an American-born driver from Tennessee, former multi-time Indy 500 winner. He drives for Penske's team. Kyle Kirkwood is another driver who's in the championship hunt. David Malukas. Those are kind of the names I would say. There's probably about like 7 or 8 guys that could win this race. But if you had to pick one, it's Alex Palou. He's from Spain. He's had Formula One aspirations, but it's pretty much Alex Palou's world in IndyCar, and everyone else is just living in it.
Right. So listen, I'm ignoramus about this too. If I'm standing along the course on Sunday, and I know almost nothing about IndyCar, like what should I watch to help me figure out just what is happening? I mean, the stuff goes pretty fast, as you may have heard.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I would just take in the sights and the sounds, and I really wouldn't worry too much about understanding what's going on in terms of strategy and stuff like that. I always say to people when they go to the race, like, just take it in, because it's a whole different experience when you're doing that. It's like hockey. I always say you watch hockey on TV, and I love hockey, and you see the sounds and the sights of it. It's like, okay, wow, this is great. But then when you go to a hockey game and you actually see how fast they are playing the game, it's like night and day difference, and you can watch the plays develop. It's much like that in racing. So for a track like this, I keep an eye on like how fast they're going into a corner, where their braking points are, or how they set somebody up going into a corner when they try to make a pass. You'll see guys, for example, maybe kind of shade one way and then shoot across, kind of deke out the competition, if you will. Watch things like that and watch them get through corners, and the braking points to me is always fascinating, because you will see as the race moves on, as the cars become, the track becomes slick with tire rubber and everything like that. Oh, and also as the drivers get more familiar with this, the challenges increase as well, because then they start to think, hey, I can go even deeper into a corner than I could maybe earlier, and then you really kind of start to see some things happen.
Jordan, thank you so much for being here.
No problem. I appreciate you having me on. Thanks so much.
And that's all for today here on CityCast DC. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. We will be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye.